So you want to see how I fixed my autofocus in Nina? Hey, this is Steve with Entering Into Space, and it is sunshiny and clear and cold and moony. I wanted to do a little video tonight about how I fixed my autofocus. Because remember in the last video, I had to pull out the batten off mask? It was so embarrassing. Yeah, so that wasn't cool. So what I did was I started doing some research. And where did I do research at? YouTube, of course. Anyway, I found a really cool channel called Patriot Astro. If you haven't heard of him, go check it out, because what this guy does is a deep dive on Nina. I don't dive that deep. I'm a high level. I'm a doggy paddle kind of guy. I just show you what I'm doing. But what this guy does is a really deep dive, and it really helped me. I took some of the suggestions that he had in Nina and implemented some of my own tests to come up with a really good autofocus routine that's really proven to be a lot better than what I was doing. So, as always, it has to get dark, and then we'll go check it out. Okay, it is dark, and it's finally clear. Had a few clouds pass over. And so we're now going to get into the Nina autofocus. So I'm going to show you how I went about setting my autofocus up, changing some of the parameters, and one of the mistakes I made, and something really cool in the new Nina 1.11 that you're really going to want to take advantage of. So over here in Nina, we see we've got some pretty sharp stars here. And what I did is I just kept moving this manual focus here back and forth until I got the stars as small as possible. And one thing I want to show you over here, before you go into equipment and before you click the autofocuser, before you connect to your autofocuser, you're going to want to go to options and make sure that the backlash compensation method is set to overshoot. And you can only change that when you are disconnected from the focuser. Weird. Set that to overshoot, then go over here to your equipment tab and connect your autofocuser. All right, so let's get over here to the options. We've got an autofocus step size of 20, which is pretty low. That's kind of default, I think. And what I did here is I do not have any backlash set. No backlash compensation. I want to start from 0. I want to see what it does without any backlash compensation first. So what I want to do is come back over here to the imaging tab, and I want to look at these stars. I want to focus in maybe on these two little stars right here. And I want to change my position here. And I want to do that, and I want to make sure that I'm watching the star. So I'm going to change the position. I'm going to watch the star, and what I want to see that star do is grow by, like, I don't know, just grow, just get bigger, you know, double in size maybe. And that means that is the step size that's going to defocus that star. That's pretty critical. So what I'm going to do is come down here in the target position, and right now it's at 41,092. So I'm going to change that to 41,192. I'm going to add 100 steps, and I'm just going to click move, and then I'm going to take a 5-second image. And let's see if the star defocuses and gets bigger. It didn't, it just kind of shifted. So let's go ahead and add 50 steps to the 100 that we just add. So that would be 242. We're going to move. I just did mental math, so don't kill me. We're at about 150 steps. Take another exposure. Now you see the star got a little bit bigger. And that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see that star defocus just a little bit. So that was like 150 steps. So let's come over here to our options. And let's change that 20 steps to 150. And your telescope, your focal length, the type of scope that you're using, all will be dependent on this number. So this is very personal to you. 150 steps, still don't have any zero backlash, or still don't have any backlash compensation set. We're doing a autofocus initial offset step of 4. So it's going to go 4 times 150 on either side of the focus point. So let's just go over here back to the imaging. Let's go to the autofocus tab and let's start on autofocus. And let's just see. And I am roughly pointed at the vicinity of Orion currently, and there is the moon. All right, so we got a good drop. That's pretty good. And what we don't want to see is a position here and it would go up. Now you can see we got a little bow in this first point right here, so we've dropped a little bit. But you see this line here, this is our trend line. And one thing while this is doing that I wanted to show you, that if you want to set, is the curve fitting strategy. I used to use parabolic and I've changed to hyperbolic. Let's go back over here and just watch this. And the other thing I want to tell you about is this number right here. And this is really cool, and I learned what this was because I had zero clue. I just saw this number and I went, huh. And what this number right here is telling you, this 1, which is really awesome, means that's the best we can do. 1 is following this trend line perfectly. So we've dropped down a little bit. If we were jagged and going all over the place, this number would lower. So you want this number to be as close to 1. 1 is done. Anyway, 1 is good. So we're at 0.99 we got a little fluctuation. I think we got a couple passing clouds. We're at 3.03. I'm usually like 3.4 on my HFR because I'm using the Ritchie-Chrétien and the ASI 294 and bin 2. So those two combinations have usually got me like a 3.4, 3.5 HFR, which is really good. And I'm at a 3.03. Thumbs up, baby. And I've followed the trend line pretty good. And you can see I'm at a 1. So I've got a tiny little bit of backlash in here. And if you look, this is 200 steps. So from 600 to 800. So that divided by 4 is 50. So it looks like if we start here, it's not quite 50, not quite 100, so that would be 50, that would be 100. So I think we're more like, let's just go back over here in 80. And here's one of the mistakes I made. I make a lot of mistakes. Is I have my backlash compensation equal on both sides. So I was watching my focuser and it would rack in, it would turn to a focus position and then almost go all the way back. It was like fighting it. It was confused. So let's do just one side. Let's change that to 80. Let's come back over here to our imaging tab and let's run this autofocus again. So we've determined our offset step size by defocusing our star was 150. That seems to be pretty good. We're pitching down, we're trending really good. We're getting a really good autofocus. We looked at our graph here to measure what our backlash was, and we've entered a value in of 80. So we're looking good. We've got 3.37. We've got another great graph. Okay, so one more thing that I wanted to go over before I let you go here, and so you can run back to Nina and your telescope and go, ooh, I'm gonna be so focused now, is this R² threshold. And this is a really cool feature, and basically what I have my number set to is 0.8. So if we go back over here to the imaging tab and we see that this last autofocus run was 0.98. Let's just run another autofocus when we change that backlash to. So what that's basically saying is if in the middle of the night you're running multiple autofocus sessions, so maybe like every 2 hours, and let's say at 2 o'clock in the morning you're running an autofocus and clouds come over, well, what that's going to do is affect your focus, right? So before, with the old version of Nina, it would just run an autofocus and you could be way out of focus and it would just rock on. But what this R squared number value says is if that number is less than 0.8, it's not going to accept that focus. It's going to revert back to the old focus position. If it's greater than 0.8, closer to 1, remember the good number, then it will accept that focus and then continue on. So this can really save you a lot of really out of focus subs, which if you've been doing this long enough, you've woken up to, and you're like, what? Yeah. So that's what that number's set for. And it comes default to 0.7. I've pushed mine up to 0.8. I'm a little tolerant. They say to maybe go a little higher, but anyway. But yeah, let's go back over here and see what we're doing. So you can see we're at 0.99. So if this was in the middle of the night, Nina's going to look at that number and it's going to say, is it above 0.8? Why, yes, it is. Cool. Let's take it. So we've run some pretty successful autofocuses here. We probably still just a little high on our backlash, and I may tweak that just a little bit. But when you see this flatten out right here, if you see just a flat, nothing's happening, that's basically backlash. And adjusting that number, oh my God, I'm in the flight path of Amazon now. What the heck? Oh yeah, I just ordered a bunch of stuff off of Amazon, so. Anyway, so yeah, I may tweak that, but I think I've got a pretty good curve in here for shooting at f8, you know, against the planes. Yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with it. So what else? Oh, and if you were wondering before, like, hey, why is it up? Because I'm like, I like to stand now. I don't like to sit anymore. It's too cold to sit. Oh, it's cold here. So that's it. That's what I wanted to go over. It's what I wanted to show you. Let's recap. This backlash compensation, either in or out, one or the other. The other is 0. This was the step size that we came up with from a perfect focus to a defocus star was 150 steps. I'm going to leave that autofocus initial step size to 4. I could change that to 5 if I wanted a shallower curve, or drop it to 3 if I want a little steeper curve. 3 is definitely going to be a quicker autofocus, so I'm just kind of splitting the difference and running it to 5. And I am doing a hyperbolic curve fitting strategy. That seems pretty intense, right? Strategy? I don't know. Yeah, so stay tuned to next video where I show you how I've figured out how to rotate and match rotation. Yeah, how many of you guys have started stacking subs and you got here and here, and you got these big black wedges that you got to crop out? Not anymore. With the Nina auto rotator, or excuse me, manual rotator. I don't have an auto rotator. Rabbit hole. Okay. It's finally super clear. I'm going to try to get some more images on the Cass Nebula. I've never shot that before, so that's what I'm shooting tonight. And until next time, clear skies and clear minds.